week. Nice day. Not too cold for you. Yeah. Impromptu broadcast today. So, Christmas, my birthday, 21st December. Well, for me it is anyway. Just gone 2 a.m. actually. My rhythms have been a bit off. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to go through the night and get set up. My birthday's just turned 2 hours, 2 minutes. Not too old I am, but yeah, 21st December. So I thought I'd do a bit of a Christmassy kind of theme show. Been thinking about it. Somebody asked me, so I was like, yeah, might just do that. So yeah, Christmas theme show today. So I'm going to look at Santa Claus and the Mushroom. Now, a few people have done this one, and I thought, okay, Santa Claus and the Mushroom. We've been here before, but as always, maybe there's something we missed. And I'm into the symbolism, 21st December as well. So I'm thinking, okay, let's have a look at this. So in today's show, we're going to take a deep dive into the symbolic meaning behind Christmas. Okay, so we've got the Santa and the mushroom, but I'm wondering, well, what about Christ as well? Because that's the Christmas thing. So it's called Christmas. So is this something been lost in translation, I'm wondering? Because from ancient Greek to Egyptian to English and King James, and then from Latin, it's a bit like, well, there's a lot of language stuff going on. Things can get misinterpreted. Transliteration as well can sort of be a bit subjective. So I thought we'll take a look at that. Because there is a curious link between Amanita Muscaria and Santa. There's a lot of associations. So I thought we'll take a look at this and see if we can sort of take it any further and see if there's any surprising discoveries. Maybe it will change the way that we sort of view Christmas and Santa and the whole thing. Some of our questions that I've been musing on are, what's the symbolic meaning of Christmas? What are all these motifs that we take for granted? Is there something more to it, as there are with so many things? Also, are we sure we know what it's all about? Like I said, that's why we're asking the questions. Santa and Jesus Christ, are they totally separate? I've always wondered about that. It's like there's two like magical people at the same time. Got some, at Christmas, I don't know. Not really been explained to me as a kid, so I thought I'd look into that and see how they're related, or if not. And it's just a funny coincidence. So I thought we'll start off by looking at Amanita Muscaria then. We'll have a look at what it looks like. Okay, so notable thing, first of all, Amanita Muscaria mushroom associated with Santa Claus is red and white. It's got the same kind of Santa Claus colour motifs. So let me have a look at all the associations then. I've got a little list here that I've come up with. So, I mean, we've got the tree, we've got the deer, the stockings on the tree, the elves. That and Mike covered this on Troubled Minds Radio before, him and Frank back in the day, and it's been mentioned and people have talked about this. And I remember Terence McKenna saying one time, the one about Jesus is the mushroom, making a sort of joke like, have you heard the one about Jesus the mushroom? And I thought, what is that? I thought he was kind of half joking, but no, there is kind of something to all of this stuff. So I thought I'd look at the associations of Christmas and Santa Claus. And so first I mentioned the colour, both red and white, both associated with winter and the reindeers. And of course the red and white bits kind of look a bit like snow on there. Right, the reindeers are associated with it like in cartoon. You get them in the cartoons, and reindeer do actually love eating them, turns out. So a bit weird, but they are associated in that way. Does he want to eat them? Okay. And then they're also associated with the spruce and the pine tree, the Christmas tree. Why that tree? And it turns out that the Amanita Muscaria, they form a symbiotic relationship with specifically, the spruce and the pine tree, those type. So it's like, okay, there's that there, but it goes further. So they're both associated with, psychedelic mushrooms and psychedelics associated with colour, first and foremost, incredible, sort of visual experiences and lots of shifting, migrating colours. Okay, bit like Christmas tree lights. All right. So they're both associated with sort of fairy tale and magic. Like Santa lives in a fairy tale place, doesn't it? Up in the North Pole, which is like the axis mundi, the axis of the earth, where the rivers are supposed to fall out in sort of different mythologies, like creation mythologies. Okay. And like I say, see it in the flag agaric, it's also known. We see it in, say, the Bambi cartoon from 1942. Okay. Now, according to this guy, there's a guy called John Marco Allegro. There's this guy on Wikipedia. So he was an archaeologist, a scholar, and he was an ordained minister. So he was a scholar of, like the religious texts, and he studied the Dead Sea Scrolls for over a decade, and presented an alternative explanation as to what the whole Christmas thing was about. Okay. So he argued we've had it all misunderstood. And he ended up writing a book, like I say, after over a decade's worth of study, an ordained minister, wrote this book, The Sacred Mushroom and the Cross. And he concluded that Christianity is all a big misunderstanding and refers to the psychedelic mushroom Amanita Muscaria and Siberian shamans and its fertility rituals and the practical use of psychedelics. Okay. And in his book, he also claims that he could trace a word back to ancient Sumer, a word for Jesus. He says that a mushroom covered in, get this, a mushroom covered in God's semen, right? God's semen. So it was about semen of God falling from the... I'm not joking. That's what it says. No, it's about semen falling from the sky, right? Okay, so think about it. Semen falling from the sky, Amanita Muscaria kind of looks like, have another look. It's got like I say, it looks like it's got snow on it or some splodges on it, and it's white. Yeah, all right then. Okay, let's stick with it. Okay. So semen falling of God falling from the sky, making the mushrooms grow. And think about Santa Claus magical reindeer, are magical because of some special property. The reindeer of the Siberian, the shamans of the Siberian region have reindeer, and the caribou, right? And in a sense, they can fly because they're taking psilocybin these type of psychedelic mushrooms, including the Amanita Muscaria, okay? And that psilocybin, the psilocin, the active compound, it's not destroyed by the digestion process, by being filtered through the kidneys and the liver, which is what, one of the many jobs they do. And, liver does a ton of jobs, but yeah, one of them is to filter stuff. And so through urine, that psilocybin's still working. Okay, so they call this, they have this thing called the second pass where you can like drink your urine and it should be more effective. Okay, but it means that because the caribou, deer, they like the mushroom. Turns out they like getting to the wee when you pee in the snow, according to the sort of mythos. But there's something to this, right? It makes you wonder, doesn't it? That's just crazy. If the reindeer are eating it and they're going to have a psychedelic experience. So maybe they figured out if they eat that snow, they have the same psychedelic experience. Maybe they're specifically after the psilocin. It makes you wonder. But then that essentially, make the reindeers fly, in a manner of speaking. So, it's interesting. But I thought one of the other things as well with Christmas, so you've got Santa Claus, you've got the reindeer, the colourful lights, which you mentioned, the colour, and the Christmas lights, the Christmas tree, the symbiotic relationship with the mushroom. But then you've also got the gift giving and the elves, right, from the magical land. Well, that's then, say, it's going to be looking at what's known as the DMT elves, dimethyltryptamine, the molecule that's found in so many things. It's found in everything. It's a powerful psychoactive. If you get it in a concentrated form, it's powerful psychoactive, really powerful, and pharmacologically really safe. Its LD50 rating's really great. which is the lethal dose 50 rating. If 50% of the subjects die at that dosage, then it's considered lethal. But the LD50 rating on dimethyltryptamine, a psychedelic, is a pound wouldn't kill you, but only 5 grams is what it takes to activate it. So pharmacologically, it's really safe, and it talks about Terence McKenna, probably one of the biggest proponents of psychedelic studies and studying the benefits. He talks a lot about the DMT elves, and I figured, considering he's such, a great speaker, let's have McKenna just quickly describe one of his videos. Quickly describe what DMT elves are like and what's sort of feels like to experience them. And I found a nice clip, this nice visual for those on the video. It's from a YouTube channel called We Plants Are Happy Plants. It's a cute little name. But let's have a listen to this now.
And the elves and the general mythology of elves is like this. Elves respect intelligence. The way they relate to intelligence is they set you riddles. Elves are about language. If you're stupid, they make you sleep for 100 years at the center of their hills and don't let you go back. If you can riddle their riddle and riddle in return, then they think you're a fine fellow and they let you crawl back to the pub or whatever it is. So there is this, the word that I use to describe my feeling about the DMT space is it's zany. It's like a Coyote cartoon or a Marx Brothers film. It's a land of explosions and falling anvils, and yet it's all for fun. But you have the feeling that these guys play so rough that their idea of fun might also include the possibility of handing you 4 sticks of dynamite on a short fuse, just because it would be so amusing to do that. So it's got a funny emotional vibe to it. It's lots of fun, but you really want to be on your toes and try and get as much out of it as you can. One idea that I've played with about what's going on is again, extrapolating from these hashish deals in India, it seemed to me they were like meme traders. Memes, are the smallest units of an idea or an ideology. Well, it's like they're in there and they show you all this stuff. And it's the equivalent of trade goods. Beads and baubles to trade with the natives in Newtonian space. And they're saying, wouldn't you like this? Wouldn't you like this? And you're like some poor Amazonian Indian being shown fountain pens that when you turn them upside down, ladies undress and stuff like that. Saying, my Lord, I've never seen anything like that. I must possess it. But what we have that they want, I'm not sure what it is we can offer them. Yeah.
Do you feel like if you were less on your toes than you should be, you would be in any danger? I mean, you also said at one point that you felt tremendous affection from them as well. So presumably they're going to take care of you to some extent, right?
It's almost like the problem of a child playing with a spider or something. They have affection for you, but they don't really understand how you work. They don't really understand your limits, and they might just simply shoot past your limits by accident and leave you a quaking wreck in some asylum for the rest of your life, and they'll feel very badly about it, but, it's just a case of a misstep.
So, there we go then. We heard it from Terence McKenna. There's I'll probably stop it there, because like a bit of a warning at the end there. There's a guy who's asking the question. Obviously, he's gone to McKenna talks before, asking the question, asking about a danger question, a safety question about the psychedelic realms in terms of encountering other beings, like elves. Are the elves safe to encounter? Specifically, not just the experience and take the thing. So it's like, that's an interesting, that's it's a pretty surprising thing to be coming up with. It's pretty incredible, really, when you think, Christmas is supposed to be about all happiness and niceness, but then can the elves be threatening? Are they dangerous? And it's this thing about, like, made the point of if you act daft, then if you behave in a certain way, then the gloves are coming off. They're gonna, But if you play ball and be nice, then if you're nice, they'll be nice, sort of thing. And I noticed that in my efforts to try and have a DMT experience, it took me a couple of goes to get in there. And it is, there was a point where there was an opportunity to do something where I kind of got something, and I got to mimic and show them, do this, do that, and I'm trying, and I'm finding light coming out my mouth when I make sounds. So I try different sounds, and it changes the colour of the light and which stream does what. So I started to kind of like be able to speak this language, add structure. And I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm watching the colour as a kind of guide to tell me how to move it. I don't know what it means, but it's a structured language. I'm speaking it. And after saying it for maybe 10 seconds, I'm thinking, am I getting the hang of this? And I tried to like push it a bit. And there was almost like I was showing off. And there was a bit of a kind of jeer and a booing, in a sense, but in a bantery kind of way. So it's like, is there something about that? And there seems to be something about these philosophies, these spiritual philosophies, it's supposed to be like secret teachings and stuff. There's something about being respectful about it. And there was always also that famous story, allegedly, there was a Buddhist guy that was achieving rainbow body, let people start taking pictures, and then he couldn't do it anymore. So, I don't know, maybe there's a thing about this. But anyway, moving on. Incredibly, so you got this DMT world, this psychedelic world that might be related to Christmas somehow. You could say it's subjective, a bit ambiguous, but incredibly pulling on the thread. Turns out there's a little bit more. Although it sounds, like I say, a little bit sort of overly dramatized, maybe hyperbolic, to say this next bit, but it's that it looks like there's more to this, that there might actually be something to it that we can look at physiologically. It might be about the body. So the Bible it's got lots of allegories and great morals to how to live your life. Some people call it basic instructions before leaving Earth, like it's the way you've got to live. But then at the same time, Manny P. Hall said it's an astrology book. If you look at it from an astrology perspective, it kind of is. Bethlehem means house of bread. But if we look at this as above, so below thing, and there's a bit more to this. If you look at the physiology, this physiology stuff, just by looking at the meaning of Christ, what the Greeks said about this stuff. So they got. I'll quickly share this Wikipedia page. Christos is Christ. Christos is a Greek name. It says here in Wikipedia. I'll zoom in a little bit. It says here on Wikipedia, it's the Greek name Christos derived from an earlier word meaning anointed. Okay. So I think, all right then, anointed. So, all right then, you've got this anointed bit, Christos. But then, as a little link, is that in the cerebellum, is that famous picture, in fact, I'll look it up, is it where Adam, I think it's called something about Adam, where he's touching God, is that famous picture where he's like reaching Adam? Let's have a look, God. I can't remember what it's called, I just want to get the reference while I'm here, it's the creation of Adam. Let's have a look. See this picture here? The creation of Adam. It's a classic. It's a well-known Renaissance kind of painting where God, apparently, is touching a mortal supposed to be Adam. Right, they're just about to touch. But it's noted that the throne that God's sitting on is a kind of brain shape. Well, that's not kind of. It's exactly brain shaped. So the creation of Adam. If you look up the classical picture, yes, shape of a brain, God's throne. Right, to get this. Christos Christ as the name, and it means anointed. But check this, in the brain, we have this thing called the claustrum. Like Santa Claus, we have this object called the claustrum. A kind of slopey apex, a little bit like a log cabin Christmassy roof, you know, kind of thing. Yeah, so it's got this structure in the brain called the claustrum, all right? And I'm thinking, okay, so anointed, isn't that usually referring to, I think that, is that related to oil in etymology or something in the Bible, being anointed and oil? Anyway, so this got this claustrum in the brain. Okay. So it turns out, incredibly, the claustrum is the Santa Claus. It's kind of the Santa Claus thing. This is where we've ended up, and it's about the brain, and it's about why shamans were using this mushroom that's got the same color associations as Santa Claus. It's about the reason. So get this: the claustrum, it secretes a fluid like an oil, and it's something that the Greeks referred to as Christos. It travels down the spine, all right? It reaches the sacral plexus. Yeah, we've got the... Oh, that's a solar plexus. Yeah, I'll just do a quick... Right, okay, so I'm just going to look this up quick. So it reaches sacral plexus. Let's look this up so we can get an image of it. So you've got this structure in the brain, which is basically Santa Claus. And this, I'll zoom in this for the people looking on the video. This sort of inflamed area here on this picture, it's right at the bottom of the spine. Is the very you've got your very tailbone, and then just above it, you've got this area. You've got this area that's kind of fused together. Okay, so it's going back to the journey. So okay, so in the brain, think about the top of the head, right, and the top of a house. The body is a temple, all right? The cerebrum has the claustrum in it, okay? And it's Santa Claus, right? So the claustrum creates a fluid, the Greeks call Christos, travels down the spine, reaches the sacral plexus, which is it's right next to the sacrum. Okay, it goes down the spine. The sacrum is those 5 fused vertebrae at the bottom, just above the tailbone I was just describing. Okay, travels down there, reaches there, and it's also known as the holy claustrum, this structure in the brain that secretes this oil. And it's known for its secretion and known to be holy, and that secretion was, you know, that's where the word secret comes from. Okay, because it's revered, because it's kept secret, like a secret knowledge. So this fluid travels down the spine to the sacral plexus, you know, implying it's Satan. So notions of Santa, is this a metaphor for him coming down the chimney? Yeah, you've got the sacred oil coming out of the claustrum, going down the spinal column, going down the chimney. So where does it end up? Saying so it ends up there and it sits there. It comes down the chimney and sits there. Okay, like Santa bringing the present, this sacred secretion. So where does it come from? Where's the start of its journey? You may well ask, because I did. And where it comes from is that every month, when your moon sign, this is where it gets sort of the spiritual aspect comes in. I think this is where the Christ bit comes in with Santa, that they are absolutely connected together. It's not just like, oh, we'll commercialise this thing as an opportunity. They're connected together. All right. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna connect these two things for you, Santa Claus and Christ, and it look kind of, I don't know if it's the same thing or it's about the same process or what. But you've got Santa going down the chimney, this sacred oil. the holy claustrum. And so like I say, I'm wondering if these going to say, and it's the idea that every month a seed, every time the moon, every month when the moon is in the same sign as when you're born. So when the moon is in your sun sign, your zodiac sun sign, then you get a seed planted in your solar plexus. Yeah, in your sun plexus. And the moon, remember, is the opposite end. Is the opposite one. Whatever your sun sign is, like I'm Sagittarius, so the opposite end, whatever it is on a chart, on the zodiac, it'll be the opposite. So my emotional body will be like Aquarius or something. And it'll be the same for everyone. So when your sun sign, when the moon is in your sun sign, so it's like your emotional body is high, you get a seed planted in your solar plexus. Okay, like a kind of germ, as in germination. All right. In Eastern philosophies, in Eastern medicine, they have the Chinese meridian lines and stuff, and they have yin and yang, and they have this yang pattern, and this yields something quite interesting. So I'm going to take a little break, and we'll carry on with this link and explain how Jesus is related to Santa Claus. So I'll just pop a little bit of music on to give me a chance to make a quick drink. I'll be back in just a sec. Amelia Martin on the Exiled Minds podcast. Welcome back to the Exile Minds podcast. Amelia Martin. Quick break there. Thanks very much for hanging in. Hanging in. We've got some people in the chat. I wasn't sure anyone would check it. We've got Jess Rogue. Got Daryl. Hiya. James. James is quick off the mark there. I reckon he's secretly Daredevil. Anyway, that's another story. Got Bobby Broadway. Hiya. Woo. Yeah, I'll get some. In fact, I'm going to develop it over time, Bobby. Yeah, yeah. Over this year, I'm going to get on it properly and try and make it look nice and have some cutesy stuff. But yeah, that's all right. Yeah, I've got the Matrix for you. Get me out. But yeah. Anywho, let's pause that. We'll get switch that thing over to the mic. Right then. Okie dokie. So moving on. So this next bit, check this out. Right, so just to quickly recap, I mentioned so we've got Santa Claus. He's red and white, related to the mushroom associated with it. Then Jesus, turns out there's the claustrum, looking like that's Santa Claus. A seed gets planted in your solar plexus every month. Okay, so this is the beginning of this special oils, anointing oil stuff's journey. So see this, there's a yang pattern for it, where your solar plexus is. It's 5 points, so it kind of makes a pyramid. But I thought that's interesting. That's like a bit of a cradle, right? Where that seed or that germ, as in germination, is born in that cradle, look. Yeah? Oh, no. Baby Jesus in the cradle, tiny little seed. Okay, so then it's like, well, hang on a minute. So this oil, what's happening then? It's traveling up. It's traveling up the spine, yeah? And as it goes up the spine, kind of like builds up electrical charge. And then it hits the brain. And it goes past the vagus nerve on the back of the neck with major stuff. And then it goes up into the brain, right? So it goes up past the vagus nerve on the back of the neck, right to the brainstem, enters the brain, okay? The oil is differentiated by the pituitary gland, the pineal gland, before being sent back down the spinal column. So it like refines it, and the pineal gland is working on the electrical portion, and the pituitary gland working on the magnetic portion. Okay? I thought, man, that's crazy. Oh, thanks, Bobby. The visuals. Yeah, keep going. Hi, Airpark. Oh, I feel like a podcaster. Anyway, moving on. Yeah, okay, so we got this. So the deal is, in your solar plexus, which is weird because you get a lot of feeling from there, don't you? From that kind of place. Your solar plexus and your gut. You've got that whole nervous system. So anyway, solar plexus, seed gets planted, moves up. It gets differentiated by the pituitary gland and the pineal gland. Pineal gland for the electric bit, pituitary for the magnetic bit. In Hinduism, we've got then Kundalini, haven't we? This is what we're talking about. And in Kundalini, there's these two nerves identified as there's an area around the nose. It's just below the pineal gland, and they've got these two nerves called the Pingala and the Ida, and it's known in Kundalini as the Kundalini and the Kunda buffer. And I'm thinking, buffer, is that like a magnetic field in physics used to isolate things or act as a containment field? I thought that was an interesting notion to throw that out. And once it passes the vagus nerve, it goes down, so it goes up into the head, gets differentiated, then comes back down to right down to the bottom of the spine, just above your tailbone, sits in the sacral plexus, and then just waits dormant, waiting for the germ to come again the next month. So you've got the germ that goes up, gets turned into the oil, comes down and waits. And if it's not used, wasted, and you're able to transmute it through like meditation and stuff, raise your kundalini when you've already got a seed, then it will rise back up the chimney. So we've got another version past the vagus nerve, okay? And it comes, and then the pituitary gland and the pineal gland. Remember, the vagus nerve is controlling your lungs and your stomach, all that network of nerves, and that's known as the tree of life. That's like your tree of life nervous system, your enteric nervous system, and your pituitary gland, your vagus nerve, all that. Okay, so it looks like the ancients knew that the seed once a month is being born in Bethlehem. The Christ, the Christos, is being born in the little cradle in the solar plexus. So if you abstain from sex for a whole cycle, then it can be saved instead of being destroyed. And it will rise and burst through your heart chakra, up your free throat chakra, and this higher vibration version of it, more potent. And they're saying that the way, just proper practices, that's why I do the meditation, the breathing, and the eating good and peaceful behavior. It helps you to rise it up. And guess what? There's 33 vertebrae. So you're rising it up the 33 levels to get to the very top. And Christ, of course, was crucified at age 33. Okay, that reaches then this other part structure, which I'll just highlight for those on the video here, look. The thymus. Okay, so that's an egg-shaped object, an egg as well. At the very top, egg-shaped object called the optic thalamus. And when the oil crosses this nerve, It's called the crucifixion. Okay, but it don't kill it. It magnifies it by 1,000 times supposedly, and then remains dormant for 2.5 days, where it's considered to be dead, and then it finally reaches the pineal gland, which then illuminates both the pineal gland and the optic thalamus. So it would seem like the ancient Greeks and the ancient Egyptians who revered the optic thalamus, because they called it the light of the world. So overeating, alcohol and sex was detrimental to this process, destroys the seed. And it's called eating from the tree of life. And this is supposed to be the manna from heaven. Heaven, heaven. I mean, heaven even means to pull upwards, to heave. Heaven, heaven. To pull, to hoist up, sort of thing. And you're hoisting up to the dome of the rock on the top of the torso, on top of the tree of life, top of your body. And midway point is Midgard, or the middle garden, going past your heart chakra and your solar plexus again. That'd be like your halfway house where it starts, it's like, and then the base chakra down below, all that area right down near your hips and stuff, where you've got your sexual organs and your hunger and your desire and stuff in your stomach, that was called Sodom and Gomorrah. The areas of desire and the animal desire, which is considered like hell because it's low down. You know what I'm saying? And then the flowing land of milk and honey is up there with the pineal gland, with the pineal gland having the honey and the pituitary gland being the milk. So I thought that was pretty shocking, really. It's incredible. But then, there's that physiological science to back it up. So like, oh my God, what's that all about? Crazy. So, I don't know. So you think, look this stuff up, like I always say. Check it for yourself. That's the slogan. But yeah. It's this that it seems like a whole thing about regeneration. It's a whole like trope for regeneration kind of thing. So I don't know. I don't know what anybody else thinks about that, but so it sort of looks to me. Because it's like the Sikh, every month you can start over again. Do you know what I'm saying? And listen to these passages from the Bible. So, because I thought it was like it's a regeneration thing, and perhaps they're saying that you can live longer through this. And maybe these ancient structures then really are ascension chambers to try and heighten this process, right? Could this be the very purpose? And what about this? I'm the light of the world, John 12. Yeah, he who follows me shall not walk in darkness, like lighting up the pineal, like lighting up all that zone. Keep your eyes simple, for if your eye is dark, your whole body will be dark. Matthew 6:23. Is that a reference to the spiritual eye and the third eye? Okay, you've got the Apostle Paul referred to the sacred Christ within, and in Galatians 2:20, he says, I have been crucified with Christ, and I no longer live, but Christ lives in me. The life I now live in the body, I live by faith in the Son of God, who loved me and gave himself for me, not to me. Yeah? These links can't be meaningless, I'm pretty sure. They've got to mean something. That he gave himself to me, not for me. It's not like he didn't give himself for everybody. No, he gave himself into me. He's saying. Maybe there's a sort of little clue there. And I found this, there's a bunch more as well. They're just ones that I come up with. But then there was this website, we'll just put this up, Bibles of America. They've got a list of 8 other quotes referring to, there's a title, it says 8 verses that show Jesus Christ lives in you. So there seems to be this idea of Jesus living in you. And we have the Eucharist, where we're going to eat the body of Christ and drink the fluid of Christ. It's like the fluid, the wine. And then there's we know now in history and through historical records and scientific testing in labs of chemistry, we know now that, they're probably making fortified wines back in the day, making psychedelic brews for a long time. Do you know what I'm saying? So, there's other ones. Christ is in you, Romans 8:10. 2 Corinthians 4:16-7, the treasure is earth in the earthen vessel. Galatians 1:15-16, his son in me. The Christ who lives in me. I mentioned that one. Galatians again 4:19, Christ is formed in you, made in you. Ephesians 3:17, Christ may make his home in your hearts. What is that your solar plexus then? Right? Colossians 1:27, Christ in you. There's another one, I can't even say this one. 2 Thessalonians, yeah, that 1:10, glorified in his saints. When he comes to be glorified in his saints and to be marveled in all those who have believed and follow the path of it, or follow the teachings of it, like say secret secretion, it's just a weird one to look at as a strange link. But then I'm thinking, well, we're able to look at the medicinal benefits now. Science is opening up to it. I've got New York Times. This article headline changed while I was looking it up, by the way. It souped it up a bit, called it a revolution. We didn't say that before, but anyway. The psychedelic revolution is coming. Psychiatry may never be the same. Psilocybin and MDMA are poised to be the hottest new therapeutics since Prozac. Okay, and that is kind of going that way with mushrooms now. But it's beyond that. Like I say, it's more than this. The Christ within you, the claustrum. And it's starting to look like, funnily enough, Christmas time. It looks as if the Santa thing and the Christ thing do kind of go hand in hand. And it's about these sacred plants and these sacred places and these sacred, kind of practices that we can do. So my questioning through this, the associations clearly are not meaningless. The ancients clearly knew a lot. We base a lot on what they said. So, in summary, I just want to close out with the could it really be that the whole Christmas package is all about a chemical process and hidden abilities in the human body that anybody can access? Yeah. Let's have a quick look at the chat. I moved the chat and I couldn't remember what it was. Yeah, I've got it. Let's see if there's any comment. From what Bobby Broadway says, from what we see in the Bible, God could not be here, so he would take over others to be here like an angel. And then it seems in Jesus, he just observed but never controlled the Jesus. That's a fabulous point. Thanks for that. Thanks for the comment. God and good. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's an awesome point. It's like, what is this all? Yeah. What is all of this and this? Like, say, if you can't be in a place, you kind of, it's almost like the Tower of Babel stuff as well. It's like you've got to meet in the middle to be in the same frequencies. Or is it that these psychedelic realms are a kind of place where you are going to see these other entities because everybody can kind of go there? And moreover, that in Ethiopia, it said they hold the Ark of the Covenant. Well, when the Ark of the Covenant in the Bible was stolen, the people that took it from Solomon brought it back. They were all sick, as if they had radiation sickness, by the sounds of it, boils on them and stuff. And so it's like, and they brought it back to him. They didn't want it. It was like cursed. And they say when Graham Hancock did the search for it, and I think it was The Sign and the Seal, the book The Sign and the Seal, Search for the Holy Grail, he ended up in Ethiopia, found this temple that's carved straight down into the bedrock, and the guy in there, the priests that they have that look after it, didn't have any security. They only ever served for a few years before they passed away. They're all old guys. But it's said that you have to prepare for a very long time to keep your frequency high so that you can be near to it. So I don't know. Interesting little side note. But yeah, I just want... Yeah, for me at least, it looks as if there's something related to do with the body, as above, so below in the temple. So I'm just wondering, are these hidden abilities sort of opening up as well? The likes of Wim Hof and others have proved in contemporary times that, these abilities are sort of been lying dormant within our bodies, just from breathing techniques. And that was one of the things that they were saying, is proving that you can change your body temperature. So I'm just wondering if maybe this stuff's starting to come back, like it seems to come and go. They call it perennial philosophies because you keep coming and going like weeds, coming every year and coming back. So is this our time to, the fall from heaven? We've lost the sacred plants and lost his teachings. It looks like they're starting to come back now. And like I say, we've seen with the New York Times article, they were talking about there's going to be a new revolution. And McKenna said that we're going to have to change our minds to make our forward escape. And I think this is the way we're headed. So my closing statement on this one, and my question to wonder about is this going to be our return back to a golden age? Is this our return back to our own Eden of our own creation? Because there's definitely some curious links there, and it seems all that stuff's kind of coming back now. So, and as the world sort of, all the institutions that have been a bit stuffy and didn't want to change, they seem to be falling apart at the minute. So it's prime opportunity to start designing a new world now, I reckon. So it's looking pretty good. So anyway, it's my birthday today. Happy birthday, me. Quick impromptu show. I'll get back on the horse this year and do loads of content. I'm looking forward to it, getting excited. So happy Christmas if I don't see you guys. Happy New Year and all that. I might be around New Year anyway, around on the fringe stuff. So that's how it goes. But you take it easy anyway for the festive period. And let's get some music up to sign out with. Yeah, look after yourself. So I'll use you around anyway. If you want to join a Discord, the links in the description to this stuff and Discord. Setting up a Telegram show as well, so I can do it on there. I'll have a little Telegram page at least anyway. So yeah, links in the description, folks. And what we got here? Let's have an outro. What should we have? Have this little twinkly one. Anyway, nice one. Liam Martin, Exile Minds Podcast. Catch you soon. Troubled Minds Radio. Hopefully, I think it's coming on in about 10 minutes. So, Fringe.fm. You can check it out. New Year as well. Fringe Fest. See you next time, folks. Whenever I decide to do one. Thanks to James Darrell for turning up in the chat there. So, thanks APOC. Jess Rogue, thanks so much. Thanks for the happy birthday messages. Oh, it works. Technology is amazing. We're in the future. I'll catch you soon.